Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the Rec Poker Podcast, sponsored as always by Running Aces Casino, Racetrack, and Hotel and website AMP. And we have another one of our chats editions of the podcast, which means we get to talk to cool people. And tonight we are going to be talking with Carlos Welch. You guys know him. We've had him on here before. And we did book him before his big win, but of course we are going to talk about that. He's got a World Series of Poker bracelet now, but he is a poker player. He's a coach. He's a writer, and he just binked that tournament. So we're going to chat with Carlos in a second. First, let's introduce our panel. My name is Steve Fredland. I go by Rec Poker Steve in the Poker Stars home game, and I'm going to quote Carlos Welch. He said, "I am an overnight success, 15 years in the making."
And I'm Chris Jones. I'm 5x5 on PokerStars and Twitter, and I'm really excited for this conversation.
And I'm Jim Reed, Blusterini in the home game, and you can learn all about me and the other members of the Wrecking Crew at rec.poker/crew.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere. And I have a quote from Joe Laurie Jr. "If you play bridge badly, you make your partner suffer. But if you play poker badly, you make everybody happy."
Nice. Well, John, thanks for making us all happy all the time. We really, really do appreciate that.
Yeah, that's why I do what I do.
Well, as you guys know, we're going to talk to Carlos, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the community, including Running Aces tournaments are relaunching, and we've got a special Rec Poker announcement related to that. We're going to go on another road trip here at the end of August with the Run Good Poker Series. We'll be down in Florida, and we got to tease a little bit about September, maybe some other things happening there. You'll hear who the home game winners were. We'll talk about the upcoming seminar, the book study, all that kind of stuff. And a reminder, if you are a premium member, you can actually join in during the recording of the podcast. And so all you guys that are jumped on there tonight, make sure you toggle that chat over to panelists and all attendees. That way we can all hear what you're chatting about, and we can pass your questions on to Carlos. But with that, let's bring him in. Carlos Welch, welcome back to Rec Poker.
Thank you for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we had you on about a year ago. Last June, we had you on episode 182, so we got to hear a little bit about your story there, but you got some pretty big news that just happened here. So I think we just have to start there. We have to start with July 8th. What the heck happened on July 8th, sir?
Well, I was fortunate enough to win the Crazy Eights. Oh, I just realized it was on the 8th.
Yeah, it was,
July
yeah.
8th.
And it was event number 8. Yeah.
July 8th, event number 8. 8 years after my first appearance on the Thinking Poker podcast, I won the Crazy Eights online bracelet event for $124K.
That's it, just $124K, just like that. Boom.
A little bit of gas money, that's all.
A little bit of gas money. Yeah, well, there's 782 entries, and you came out on top. And there's so much to talk about that piece, but I want to start a little bit with just kind of the getting the bracelet, right? So I know you had the video on Twitter where you actually did the unboxing of the bracelet, laying down in the Prius, and I'm just like, this is so good. They told you to do, or they asked you to do an unboxing video once you got home, and you're like, I'm home. And you did,
right.
You did the unboxing from the Prius, and I don't know if you'd actually opened it before or not, but it sort of felt like a pretty powerful moment as you actually opened it and looked at that bracelet.
Yeah. So at that point, I'd had it for about 3 days, but I never opened it. I wanted to save it for the video. Funny story about me getting the bracelet. So first of all, I won the tournament from here at the Rio, and it was on the Poker News live stream.
Yeah.
And I was kind of joking in chat when I won, like where will they mail my bracelet? And that actually turned out to be a legitimate question, because the guy, Mr. Johnny Hernandez, who handles the bracelets, he sent me an email immediately after I won, and I responded within 15 minutes. But apparently he couldn't receive emails from me, although he could send emails to me. So for about a week, from his point of view, I was ghosting him. But eventually they reached out to me. The WSOP Twitter account reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're trying to get your bracelet to you, but you're not responding to the emails." I was like, "I did respond." So I found, so I responded from a separate email that I have, and for whatever reason, that one was able to get through. So I told him that I was at the Rio still on Thursday, and so we made plans for him to meet me and hand it to me in person. So he gave it to me. I checked out of the Rio on Friday because the rates 10x for me by the time we get to the weekend. And yeah, I did the unboxing Saturday morning from the Prius.
Yeah, it felt like you were opening for the first time. So I thought either he's a really good actor or this is the first time opening. And it felt, I mean, it sort of, I mean, I don't know if you picked up on how many times you watch it, but sort of like, you're just you're so casual, you're so cool, you're so laid back. But it did feel like once you kind of grabbed the bracelet, it felt like there was a little bit of a shift there, like something pretty strong hit you. Like, was there an emotional reaction, or am I just reading into that?
I mean, I wouldn't say an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't close to crying or anything. I was definitely happy. I've been walking around with the box the whole time, but I never opened it. So it was like my first time allowing myself to actually peek at it. And it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. And I think in that moment, I was thinking about how if you'd asked me a month ago, would I ever get one of these? I would probably assume like never. First of all, well, maybe not a month ago, 2 months ago, before I started playing these online events, because I don't really enjoy live poker much, especially massive fields. Mm-hmm. So I had no intention of really playing a lot of live bracelet events. So that immediately takes winning a bracelet off the table. But once I was able to get a diamond card, and they started having these online events so I could be here with the diamond card to actually play them, then it kind of became a possibility. But still, like you said, it's like almost 800 runners battling with much better players than myself. So it's still kind of a long shot. Like I was happy just to make the final table. So to actually win was definitely like, I was through the roof.
Yeah, I love that. I know that last time we talked about that kind of the game selection, you don't like large size tournaments because you want to have a better opportunity to win. And I thought that was a very interesting conversation. So that is fun now that you've entered this, and maybe this will change your mind a little bit along the lines of it. No, he's like, no, it won't. I want to talk a little bit about the cash. You know what I mean? We haven't talked directly, so I'm just hearing this from different articles that have been written and that sort of thing. One of the things that's been reported is that you're using at least some of the $124,000 to buy your mom a house. And so I want to chat a little bit about that, about, what's happening there. And, if there's been consideration for yourself to kind of get a home space, or, kind of how did you go about thinking about how to use that money?
Well, I'm happy with my home, so that won't change.
And for people that don't know, he lives out of his Prius, right? Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
love it.
My home is a Prius, so I'm pretty happy with that. What I've said is that maybe 3-4 years down the road, maybe. So this one was like, I paid $6,000 for it, and it's a 2014, and so probably like 4 years down the road, I'll probably pay $10,000 for like another used one that's several years old. But I got to get the $6,000 out of this one before I start upgrading.
That's right. And after my own heart.
Yeah, I don't want to leave any money on the table. Yeah. That will eventually happen for me. But for now, I am happy with the Prius, and bouncing between here in the Rio or wherever I could get very cheap hotel rooms. But the house for my mom is basically just like something for my whole family, because my dream is that will be like the central point for all my family members to come and go as needed. Like currently that's my grandmother's house, but her house is smaller than the one that I hope to get. And also in the future, when, you know, my mom takes over that role, her place is even smaller than my grandmother's place. And it's an apartment. So I'm looking to, like, you know, upgrade, you know, the Welch headquarters for the whole family. Something with some land, which you can get for a pretty good price in Georgia.
I love that. Yeah, I'm in rural Minnesota, and I talk about land, like the price of houses and land. People are like, what? Because they're used to like California pricing, and I'm sure Georgia's maybe the same way. And I love that. I love that idea. I mean, to me, it just implies that family means a lot to you. That your family's close, like to have a central location for your family to gather. You know, talk a little bit about that. What is the role of family in your life? What is your sibling? You know, how many siblings do you have? And kind of talk a little bit about family in your family.
So I have 3 brothers, 2 of which have the same mother and father, and then one who's my father's son. And we're close, but we all live very different lives. I'm probably like the oddball out of the family as far as like, you know, living in cars and traveling around the world and playing poker and stuff. So we're not super similar, but I view, you know, as the oddball who's, you know, fortunate enough to be able to have these opportunities. I feel a responsibility to share it with them who aren't, you know, able to do the things I'm doing. So that's kind of how I view it. I'm there probably only for the holidays, and even then, I would say maybe like a week or 2 during that time. So, you know, this is like one of my ways of like making up, you know, for my absence.
That's super cool. I mean, kudos to you. I just love hearing people talking about family and valuing family and all that sort of stuff. That's fantastic. So, you know, beyond the money, beyond the bracelet, beyond getting the fact that you're on podcast, which by the way, Jim had you booked before you won this. So we're not just chasing the winners here, but, you know, kind of beyond that, is there anything that the win did for you in terms of, you know, anything else? Like, you know, maybe, you know, feeling affirmed as a poker player, maybe, you know, opening up new opportunities. Is there anything that it did beyond the money and the prizes and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it absolutely destroyed my sleep schedule. So I recently turned 40. Yeah. I didn't realize that once you get as old as I am, that staying up for 24 hours responding to congratulation emails takes about a month to recover from. So I say 24, it was actually 32 hours before I actually got a chance to sleep. And I've been tired all day, every day since then. So that's the one thing. But beyond that, my primary reason, like you mentioned, that, you know, I'm big on game selection, weaker fields and smaller fields, which would, you know, argue against playing WSOP events. My main motivation for playing those in the first place was to help raise my public profile as a player, because all of my recent online success has been on Ignition / Bovada, which there's no player name. So nobody really knows, you know, if you're doing well. And so during that time, I've also been coaching and selling training products. And so I kind of just wanted to, like, you know, raise my public profile as a coach and, you know, a training product provider. So that was one of my reasons for playing WSOP events, because these are some of the few, maybe the only online events that are reported on HindenMob. If you look at my HindenMob, I haven't had any scores since like 2019. It
was like 50,000 or 50,000 before this or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And all that was 2019 and before. And partly, well, the main reason is because I don't play live anymore.
Right.
And also, well, I forget where I was going with that. But in order to like build up my HindenMob, you know, I wanted to play and like, you know, get a lot of cashes and hopefully get a final table.
Yeah.
Wasn't really thinking about a bracelet, but that definitely helps with all the marketing stuff I mentioned.
Well, and I love that. I know Jim's got a question too, but just sort of as you position yourself as a coach, which you are a very effective coach. But yeah, the first thing people might do is might go to Hen and Mom and go, oh, okay, well, who's this guy? And if they don't do the next level of research to recognize how successful you've been online, they won't know. And I just love that you're like, I'm going to play the WSOP to try to raise my profile. And oh, by the way, maybe winning it will help. Like, playing it doesn't really raise your profile. I mean, I've played WSOP. That doesn't raise my profile. Winning one might help my profile. So that's pretty cool. Jim, or John, why don't you go ahead? John's got a question, then Jim.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Phil Gordon said back in the decade or so ago, there are two types of poker players, those without a bracelet and those with a bracelet. And now that you are in the category of those with a bracelet, do you need to change the branding of your coaching? Because I think you might be better than mediocre coaching.
Nice.
I'm gonna say no. I really like that name, but everybody that knows me, everyone that's close to me has been trying to get me to change that name. Like everyone hates it except for me. I think, and I talked to a friend about this recently, and I think that conversation may convince me to change it to something that conveys what I'm trying to convey a little bit better. Because my thought process, and it hasn't changed. Like winning a bracelet doesn't all of a sudden make me, a great poker player. So my what I'm trying to convey with the term mediocre is that it doesn't mean bad. It just means middle. In fact, I saw a graphic on Twitter one day and I copied it. That word, the etymology of that word, meaty obviously means middle, and okra means mountain. So it's like halfway up a mountain. And if I view poker as a mountain, I have no desire to get to the top of that mountain. I have no desire to put in the work it takes to become number one on GPI. I'm very happy in the middle. So that's what I mean by mediocre. And I love rap music. So mediocre poker, the fact that it rhymes is pretty cool to me. But a friend of mine, we talked recently, and if you read my Twitter profile, another moniker I've given myself is professional poker student. Mm-hmm. That's something that I think may convey a little bit better the message than mediocre, because I don't think anyone would view someone who would, no one would say that a person who viewed themselves as a professional poker student, no one would view that with a negative connotation like mediocre poker has for people who don't really understand what that word means. So maybe I'll change it to that, but at no point will it be, elite poker coaching or something, just bracelet winner coaching just because I binked the bracelet. Like, Jamie Gold has a bracelet. Jerry Yang has a bracelet. Winning a bracelet does not all of a sudden make you feel happy.
Yeah, you might want to think about adding, you could just add another tagline, to mediocre poker, coaching with humility. Yeah. That's really what you're doing.
Well,
that's exactly it.
It's interesting you said that, because I was going to say, obviously it depends on your audience and everybody's personality is different. And, I'm a business coach, so I'm dealing with this sort of stuff all the time. And for what it conveys to me is humility. Like, obviously I don't think somebody who's mediocre, like bad at poker, is out there doing coaching. Like you're never going to have a business doing it, but it creates, humility or sort of signals humility to me. Now, not everybody wants that, right? Some people want that person that's going to convey, pride, arrogance, confidence, that sort of thing too. So it's kind of, what kind of students are you trying to attract? And for me, I see it as an appealing thing. It's interesting. John picked up on that humility side of it as well.
Yeah. The last point on this, like for whatever reason, that word mediocre equates to bad in a lot of people's mind. But when you rank all the poker players from best to worst, being halfway up that list isn't horrible. Because guess what? Here's the beauty of it. You can do this for a living if you're halfway up this list, as long as you play with the people below you, which is why I understand that about myself. I'm not going to start firing 10Ks just because I want a bracelet. I'm kind of excited for this online WSOP to end so that I can get back to playing on Ignition and Bovada, where I definitely feel like I'm closer to the top.
So you can go with the better than bad coaching.
Yeah.
We're stomping out the bad players. Jim, did you have something?
Yeah, well, that is right what I wanted to talk about, because one thing that I always tell people is, like, take what you want and pay for it. And if you know what the cost of something is and you're willing to pay that cost, then take it. And like, being one of the best poker players in the world, I can tell you what the cost of that is. It's a lot of hard work. It's not having much fun in your life that isn't poker. It's like, but if you're not going to pay that, then don't try and be the best person at poker in the world. And like, another way of saying mediocre is saying like good enough. And if you're trying to be good enough at poker to be freaking awesome at enjoying your life, then I think that's the kind of coaching that I would want to get. I certainly appreciate that. My real question though is, so how do you study now that you're all, you got the bracelet, you're hanging up, that's it. Now everyone knows you're the man. I was hosting a Learn Pro Poker study group the other day that you popped into. And I was like, oh, here's Carlos. He's grinding it out. He's killing it on the online felt, but he's still dipping into this study group and watching videos at Learn Pro Poker and that kind of thing. So how do you study? How do you work on your game? And why are you studying at Learn Pro Poker like we are?
Yeah, so Learn Pro Poker, I would say, has been the biggest influence on my most recent advancements in my game. That started pre-Learn Pro Poker when I hired Ryan LaPlante to coach me one-on-one, and then naturally I just transitioned to a member of the site once he started it. But yeah, the weekly study groups on Learn Pro Poker. I did, come into one of the Rec Poker League study groups. Just, getting in the reps every week, submitting hands. If there's any regulars to Ryan's weekly study groups, they know that I'm constantly in there chatting with hands. And here's the beauty of it. All those study sessions are recorded. So you can go back to the beginning of Learn Pro Poker and see how fishy my questions were in the beginning to see the progression. So Ryan definitely really opened my eyes to a lot of the exploitive stuff that I do, and then also helped me scratch the surface on some of the more theory stuff. And beyond that, Range Trainer Pro has helped me with the theory stuff, especially the post-flop beta test that we're doing right now. DTO Poker is another program that I use to study. A new one that I really like that I don't think very many people know about yet is GTO Check. Is similar to I have trouble describing it, but I'm just gonna say it's like a solver. I think it's solver based, but there's like more to it. But yeah, just starting to use a lot of these programs that are solver based, even though because I am a mediocre poker player, I'm too lazy to actually use the solver myself. I wait for these guys smarter than me to use it and then talk about it, and then I go from there. Same thing with Raise Your Edge. That's another site that I've used that kind of similar. Their stuff is solver based, and that helped me prepare to play the tougher games on WSOP, where I've had to battle with Negreanu and Michael Mizrachi and Ryan himself. I've had to play against, which is not something I'm used to. So yeah, all those theory-based programs help me get better with that.
And I know we've sort of been talking on Twitter. We're heading down. We're getting a rec poker house in Vegas for WSOP. We're going to maybe do some activities down there and help people learn a little more about poker recreationally. You have written in the past and shared on podcasts about going down and grinding the lammers and having that be a good way to put a bankroll together. Can you talk a little bit about, for some of our other recreational players that may be coming down for the first time, what are some like out of the way tips and stuff like that, where maybe they can build a bankroll or find an edge or save some money on paying for food or lodging or something like that? Help make it easier for our members to have a good time down there.
Tips about saving money or tips about winning lammers?
Yeah, so like a recreational player that's going down that wants to find some soft action, but also not get taken, whatever you think is really high value.
So if you've ever, and I guess this isn't as much of a thing anymore, but when I got started in poker in the early 2000s, it actually, like, a lot of people grinded sit and goes, and I was a sit and go grinder. And if you had any idea of how to play sit and goes online, even for like small stakes, you were like a massive favorite in the single table satellites during the World Series. So that's basically how I built my role in the beginning. If someone's coming up now, I don't know if there's a lot of sit and go action online like there used to be, but if you do have a sit and go background, I highly recommend playing the single table satellites during the World Series. First of all, most people there don't really understand the strategy. And my favorite part about those is deal making at the end, because you can actually make some pretty profitable deals. Again, because people don't understand, how it works, or they're playing it to try to get into an event. And if they're just like a couple of dollars short for it, they'll just take enough to get into the event. Meanwhile, you're grinding them to not use the lammers to get into an event, but you're actually going to sell the lammers to, pocket the money. So that's how I built my role. I highly recommend that. Definitely don't sell the lammer for less than face value. It's fairly easy nowadays to get someone to buy those from you. If you are playing it for the money, don't get bit by the tournament bug and use the lammers to actually fire a WSOP event. If that wasn't your original plan, stick to the plan and use the money to build your role if that's what you came there for. As far as money saving tips, don't buy water, bring your own water. I see guys buying what is it, 6-ounce bottles of water. Well, they're free, but you tip. So I view it as buying, $1 a bottle for 6 ounces of water when you can bring a gallon for free from home. So that's one thing that I've done that I would recommend. Man, as far as it's getting harder and harder with lodging in Vegas now, especially with the pandemic. You can forget about a rental car. That used to be something that
I was like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, even Airbnb is getting kind of expensive. Uber is going up. So, man, it's getting harder and harder to save money in Vegas. I don't know how adventurous these people are, but, I definitely bought a bus pass the first couple of years I was here. And if you're looking for entertainment, that comes with the bus pass because, there's some pretty weird people who live in Vegas. So bring a gallon of water, get a bus pass, and sell your lammers.
A gallon of water and a bus pass might be the most on-brand Carlos advice we've ever been given. Are you kidding? I love it.
Yeah, I got one question that I must have missed that was in the chat, Carlos. I kind of want to go back a little bit, and then we'll wrap up here pretty quick. But Kian is one of our premium members. He was in the chat, and he's just asking about, have you had other close calls with the WSOP, or have you made any other final tables? And I know you don't play a lot of WSOP events, so maybe we can extrapolate that out to other, some of the other online tournaments that you played. Have you had the big moment with other tournaments, or was this kind of the first real big moment where you got to that final four, final five, and we're playing for a ton of cash?
What's funny? So I got my diamond card in May, and that allowed me to come to the Rio and get these super low rates without paying a resort fee, which you won't be able to do in October because now every night is a weekend night with the rates once the demand increases because there's a lot of WSOP. But the first tournament I played when I got to the Rio on WSOP.com, I forget what tournament it was, but I was able to win that one for $7 or $8K. Nice. But it wasn't a series event. It was just like a regular run-of-the-mill tournament, one of their dailies or something. So that was like my first time winning any type of WSOP event. Other than that, I mean, I cashed the main event. First time I played in 2015, but it was a min cash for like, 15K. So I haven't gone deep in any bracelet events or ring events live. Like I made a day 2, but again, didn't cash, and don't think I even came super close to cashing in that. So, but this is something that, people will either love or hate, maybe both. I think I've only played at the time that I won the bracelet. I think lifetime I probably played maybe like 10 bracelet events up until that point. So some people definitely grind, all summer trying to win a bracelet. In the past, when I was here doing the WSOP, I would be playing down at Binion's or playing at Hollywood or something. Wasn't really playing bracelet events because I'd rather play against worse players. I want to be somewhere where I don't have to run into Tony Dunce every other tournament like you do on WSOP.com. This was the first time I've even been close to this kind of success in a bracelet event. So yeah.
Does it change sort of your perspective on what you're going to play going forward? You seem like you're a pretty disciplined guy, kind of stick to my strategy. If I'm going for Lammers, I'm going for Lammers. I'm not going to get caught up in the hype and now playing a big tournament. But does this now having this sort of a bankroll, the confidence that comes from this, does it change sort of your approach to tournament selection, or are you going to stick with kind of what's been working?
Probably different. Probably in a different direction than you would think. So like I mentioned, my original plan was to get a bunch of WSOP caches, maybe get mentioned in a couple of updates to like try to raise my profile.
Yeah.
But now that I've won one, I've kind of accomplished that goal. So I'm still going to play the smaller, like maybe 1K at the most, bracelet events throughout the rest of the trip, which is, I guess, like another 10 days or so before this series ends. But they're also running a ring event series alongside the bracelets, and I was going to play those also, but then I noticed those don't get updates. So I'm not going to play those. If you give me the choice between playing ring events with Tony Dunce or ignition tournaments, the ring events I would take if there's some marketing aspect to it as well. But without that, I don't really see the reason to play against tougher fields. So even though I have a bigger bankroll now, I'm only going to play bigger events and tougher events if there's some marketing aspect for me. If not for that, I'd rather just play where it's easier to win money.
So you need to drive to Florida at the end of August. We're going to be down there for the Run Good Poker Series. Down there, we got a house. We can hook you up there if you want to stay with us. But Poker News covers those main events. So even I got publicity. Even I can't imagine the publicity you would get. But tongue in cheek a little bit. But of course, we travel with the Run Good series a bit. So obviously, it'd be fun to connect with you on some of those. But do you travel for any of those sort of other sort of circuits, or is it really just where you happen to be? And then answer that. And then I know Chris has some questions from our members.
I used to, not anymore. Of course, none of us did last year because of the pandemic. Right. But even before that, I kind of like settled in and was pretty happy with how I was doing on Ignition. But before that, I would say 2015, 2016, I did a decent bit of traveling through Florida, actually, when I first, I bought a van first, and I lived in a van before I got the Prius. I bought that van and I just drove down the west coast of Florida and back up the East Coast, just hitting casinos along the way. Yeah. And so I played smaller stuff back then. But I was more willing to play live poker back then for some reason. Now I just really don't want to sit at a live table for hours and hours. Like if I brick an online event, it sucks for like 10 minutes.
Yep.
if I bubble something I really wanted to, do well in live, it just hurts more. So the pain balance is out of whack there. So if I'm going to play live, so this is one goal that I haven't accomplished yet. Believe it or not, it's pretty hard to impress my mom. So, 124K, that gets half a mention when I tell her about that. She doesn't really care about the bracelet. So my next goal, my scheme to like really impress her with poker is to maybe play on TV one day. Oh. So maybe I'll play like some HPT events, something like that, where I can get, even though the field might be a little bit bigger than I'm used to, but because I can now afford to play like main events for around $1,500-$1,600. I think those fields are probably softer than the same buy-in level in Vegas. Mm-hmm. So if I did any traveling, it would be to play something like that, but it needs to be televised. And televised. I thought I could fool her with like streams, right? But somehow she knows the difference. She knows the difference between a live stream. But if I can get on TV, if I can get on TV, I think I can finally impress her.
I love that, Chris.
Carlos, I know we got to wrap up soon, but there's a question from one of our members, Roger, about soft fields, and I kind of want to jump on with that with my second question. But so Roger's question is, how soft are the fields in small buy-in events at the WSOP? And my add-on question to that is, without giving away all of your secrets, if somebody wants to sort of like says, this seems like Carlos seems to be onto something. I want to find myself some soft fields. Like, how do you scout? How do you like go about and say, like, look through a schedule of all the things going on and say, this is where I want to be today?
As far as like how soft these small WSOP events are, so I won the bracelet, and then 2 days later, I played this $33 buy-in, which I think is the smallest one they do during this bracelet series. It was like Ignition. Some of the worst play I've seen. Like identifying if the play is going to be soft before you get there. Basically, just like ask your poker friends where they're playing and then go somewhere else. That's what I used to do. Like in Vegas, like, I would always find out where Andrew Brokers was going to be, and I would get as far the hell away from him as I could. A lot of times that would have me down at Binion's or wherever else. So that's a good piece of advice. Don't play with your friends. If you're studying, your friends are probably decent. So go where they're not willing to go. And once you're in the game, look for limpers. Whenever I'm at a table and there's not, like, within the first 10 hands, if I haven't identified at least 4 players as like habitual limpers, it's a tougher game than I'm used to. And I did see that in the 333 that I played on WSOP.com, the bracelet event. But all the other ones, I was like, yeah, there wasn't a ton of limpers. Nobody, there were not a lot of obvious mistakes I saw that I had experience exploiting, like I'm used to on Ignition tournaments. And if you're talking online, just play on Ignition. Even the $1,000 tournaments on there are soft.
And so last question, Carlos, from Paul Parker, who's one of our members. How did you adjust your game then from playing on Ignition, where things are using your exploitive play on Ignition, to now at the WSOP final table? What sort of adjustments did you make? How did you approach that differently?
Great question. And this is a question that's kind of like bittersweet, because I basically answered this question in the article, my most recent article in 2+2 magazine, where I've written for 8 years. It's called Adjusting to Tougher WSOP Games. And it's bittersweet because 2+2 just sold the forum and they're discontinuing the magazine. So this will actually be my last article, but I wrote this article about how to compete in WSOP events. And then a few weeks later, I won a bracelet using these tips in the article. So basically what I said in the article is open bigger than a min raise when you're at tougher tables, because on ignition, it doesn't really matter what size you open. Almost every hand is going to go multi-way. So if it's going to go multi-way, I'm probably going to lose it anyway. So I'd rather lose 2 big blinds as opposed to 2.5 or 3. But when you're up against tougher players, your open size actually matters. The defending range out of the big blind is a lot different versus a 2.5 big blind open than a min raise. So if you want to like get that player out and that player's competent, use a bigger sizing. Also, do a lot more checking when you get called from out of position, which if you're in a softer game, that's going to happen a lot. Like some people bet too often from out of position. Just they feel like they're entitled to see bet just because they were the pre-flop raiser, but you burn a lot of money that way. And what was the third one? Oh, there was 2 more. One, don't overfold your bluff catchers before the river. That is a great, that's an asset when you're playing against these passive players that do a bunch of limping because they don't bluff enough. So if they're not bluffing enough, you do want to overfold your bluff catchers. But when you're up against better players, they can exploit you if you overfold your bluff catchers. So you definitely have to stick around on the turn with hands that may be a little bit uncomfortable. And at least until the river, then you can maybe make some hero folds. And the last one, which has been a big one for me, is make them overfold their bluff catchers on the river, especially if you're not a regular in these games and they don't know you, because you've heard good players often face a check raise on the river against some unknown player who's likely passive, and you think in your head, man, they always have it. And like one of the big pieces of advice that we constantly give new players is to don't bluff catch people on the river. So if they don't know you and they're a good player, they're not going to expect you to be bluffing in those spots. So you can actually exploit that common piece of advice that good players give each other.
Nice. Great answer. Well, guys, I think we're at time. Anything else is kind of burning question from the panel or from the members at all? Obviously, we could chat with Carlos all night, but we do want to respect your time. But all right, I don't see anything else coming out there. So, Carlos, I think we'll let you go there. But man, thanks so much and congratulations. There's, we're a community. Rec Poker is a community, and we just love rooting for people that are good people that seem to be doing well, that seem to be having, being a force for positivity in poker. And you certainly seem like one of those guys again, or you're the world's best actor. I don't know, but you're just one of those guys. You're easy to root for, and we'd love to see the money flow your way. And we'd love to see what you do with it and improving your family, and improving your community and all those things. It means a lot. So congratulations, young man.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I always have fun, and I will see you guys in 2 days in the study group, hopefully.
Yes, sounds good, young man. All right. Well, there you go. Carlos Welch. We'll leave that. We're going to hear from Jonathan Little, and then we will come right back with some of the community happenings.
Have you ever wondered whether you should call a pre-flop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it, or do you just call? What do you do with ace-king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros.
That's a lot.
Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/RecPoker right now.
You heard it, pokercoaching.com/recpoker. Sign up there. All right, guys. Carlos Welch, thoughts, feedback. What do we think?
Still just one of our favorites, everyone loves Carlos. He's it's a testament to the Thinking Poker podcast that they latched onto him so quickly, and they've kind of been the platform from which he's leapt. But it's great, just watching him ascend in the poker world has been a pleasure.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too. I love listening to him on any podcast he's on. The other, I have one point to pick with him, which I probably should have done in the interview, but like he talks about not wanting to work that hard or not wanting to be the best in the game or whatever, but he works really hard. Like he's in these study groups, he's working on his game. He's, so he might not be like, going deep into the lab 7 days a week or whatever, but I mean, I think he sells himself a little bit short, but he's a pleasure to listen to, and I'm glad he's in the poker world.
Well, and I also think he is definitely above the 50% mark, because 90% of poker players don't make money playing the game.
Right.
So because we're losing rake to the casinos, right?
Yeah.
So he's definitely way above.
Yeah. He's not at the middle of the mountain. He might not want to get to the top, but he's not in the middle of the mountain.
Right.
He's maybe mediocre among those who are at the top third.
Yeah.
He's a mediocre top third guy.
A lot of players haven't even reached base camp yet, so
he needs a Sherpa that's not quite as fit as some of the other.
Right.
All right, good stuff. Well, anything, man, it was fun to have Key and Martha, Paul, Roger, fun to have you guys on there as well. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the community. I got a couple real quick things before we go to John. The first of which is, for those of you who are in Minnesota and the surrounding area, you've maybe seen that Running Aces is relaunching tournaments in August. They have not gone public with their tournament schedule, but they are coming. And we have authorization to announce this today, that Tuesdays, and we'll have to edit this out if they somehow change things, but Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Well, no, they told us, we should be able to announce it 8 days from now. This will be released, but Tuesday mornings, the 10 a.m. tournament. We don't have specifics on what it's going to be, but it is going to be a Rec Poker co-branded tournament. So their weekly Tuesday morning 10 a.m. tournament is going to be a Rec Poker tournament.
Yes.
What that means for us practically is that means we're going to give the shout out to the winner. We're going to mention them on the podcast. We're going to start keeping track of the points that are earned. So Running Aces used to have Player of the Week. I don't know if they'll still do that, but we're going to have our own system if we're not using theirs. And we're going to start keeping track of who's earning points in these Tuesday morning tournaments to eventually kind of have a Rec Poker Running Aces Player of the Year kind of thing that we're going to do. So we got a few other things up our sleeve, but that is the long and short of it. So that'll be really fun to do that. We're hoping to do that a few other places, but that's one thing we know. So there is going to be a Tuesday morning 10 a.m. tournament. We just don't know all the details of it yet.
I don't even live in Minnesota. You can tell I don't live in Minnesota, and I'm so excited about this. I'm bouncing on my mat right now. This is so cool. I can't believe we've got a weekly tournament Running Aces. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's only a couple weeks away, or it's going to be like a week away from when this thing airs, that first Tuesday in August. So I know I can make that one. After that, I can't make like 3 or 4, and I'm already ticked off about it. But I'm sure we'll
Player of the Year race.
Plenty of representation there. I know I want to win something. So that's coming up. That's cool. As you guys know, we're going to Florida for the Run Good Poker Series. We're going to be down there at Seminole Casino, Coconut Creek or something like that is the name of the place. We've already got 4 of us that are going to be in the one house. There's 2 more going to be in another location. So we're going to have a little Rec Poker road trip down there. There still are some openings. If you want to come in just for the weekend, we could do that, but it's August 23rd through 29th down there. And they have been teasing on Twitter, on social media, some of their stops that are going to be introduced for September. I don't feel comfortable sharing those because I don't know when they're actually going to go public with it. But I can say there's going to be one that's going to be within driving distance for you Minnesota folks. And so once that's released, we're going to start making plans for that bad boy.
I'll just say, if you go look at their Twitter, they put out some emojis, and if you figure, you can do some sleuthing and pretty much figure it out.
I'm not going to confirm or deny. I do have a little bit of inside scoop, but you just state what is your hypothesis on what's going to happen in September? Have you looked
personally?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Have you seen the emojis that they're using?
Well, I got to go back and look at which emojis for which date.
Well,
but, pretty much sleuthed out all the spots.
Because this is like a road trip every month for Rec Poker now, right? We had Iowa, we're going down to Florida, we've got this mystery stop that we're talking about in September, and then it's going to be time for the Rec Poker House in Vegas. Am I missing something? This is Rec Poker road trips are taking off.
Yep, we've had a couple more inquiries into Vegas too, so if that's something you want information on, rec.poker/road trips, or get a hold of me, Steve at rec.poker. But we do have room in the house. We got a beautiful house. It's off the strip, private pool. There's a poker table. There's a pool table, 4 separate bedrooms, plus like a bunk bed room. So if you just want a cheap place to stay, we can do that as well. We're going to be there October 6th through November 5th. Those are the dates that we're going to have the house. So check out the schedule and just reach out and we can give you some prices and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I heard from our buddy Carlos that it's kind of hard to get a good, reasonable place to stay in Las Vegas. And I was like, damn, I just wish there was some awesome group of guys and gals organizing a Rec Poker House that I could come hang out with.
And it's just really good people there that are signed up. So it's going to be a great place. Chris, did you have any, are you wagering any guesses yet, or were we not able to find it?
Oh, no, sorry, I'm not.
He's playing online or something. Who knows what?
No, I'm setting up the.
Oh yeah, you're setting up the seminar.
Okay,
I'm setting up the seminar, which I'll just give my update. Seminar is happening tonight, and then I'll just jump in line in front of John.
Yeah, go
Seminar
ahead.
is happening tonight. We're getting ready for our August seminar. It's going to be all about approaching the bubble, and I am currently on this podcast while I'm setting it up.
Behind the scenes.
That's what I'm doing.
Thank you, Chris. If you need to jump off, feel free, honestly, if you need to jump off and do that. I thought you were you're going to hazard a guess on that. So I was
I'm getting my poker now set up here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Somsky, how about we turn it over to you, man? How about the little home games update? I did see a name that showed up a couple times that you're going to enjoy in the list.
Yeah, Chris will enjoy it. He always gets a kick out of it. Anyway, so this last week, it was the second Wednesday of the month, which of course means it's time for our Mixed Game Championship Series. And Bloop 7, Mark Bloomberg, got his very first Mixed Game Series win.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Also, it was the second Monday of the month last week, which means we had our daily series Tournament of Champions. And on July 12th, Mr. DZZ18, Richard Dietz,
it's our boy
got
Rich.
His very first Tournament of Champions win, which comes with the very much coveted silver pin.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, I'll take the shot at I'll take the first interruption here tonight. Just because we are sort of in elite company, the first ever historic, right? The first ever silver pin that went out from Rec Poker. The person that won that is in our chat, is one of our premium members sitting into the podcast, Roger Shute. So just a quick shout out there that we've got a piece of history joining us tonight.
The very first.
Yeah, I know. Normally when I mention a silver pin, Jim always jumps in and said, oh yeah, I always think of Roger Shute when I think of those silver pins.
I do.
All right, then on to the nightly events. Magro 44, Doug Graybeck got his 4th for the year, 15th lifetime.
I was gonna say, where's he been lately, Doug? Don't tell me you're falling down to mortal levels of victory here.
Yeah, I don't know if he's not winning as much or if he's not playing as much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, he may have had work to do as well. I don't know.
Like all of us, he has a real job.
He's out disc golfing, man. He loves disc golfing. He's out disc golfing.
There we go. Then we have Rowdy Worm, Riley Worth. Got his or her, I don't know, Riley can kind of go either way with that name. Very first nightly series or nightly victory for the daily series.
Congrats.
Ace Booyah, Greg got his first nightly victory. Uncle Tom's Cabin, Jeff S got the 4th nightly victory for the year, 6th lifetime.
He's always hanging around in that winner's circle.
Yep. Then Night Owl, Chris Ruham, got his 3rd nightly victory for the year.
Nice.
In our daily series mixed event, Roadstar 33, Randy Smith won his 2nd mixed event.
Steve was close in that one, I think.
Yeah. Then we have Chris's favorite name.
Here we go. Double fun. Here we go. You got to say it twice, John. You can't skip and say, oh, this guy won't.
Okay.
Watch it like
First, for the 9 a.m. Central Time international event, we have Isma Spike.
Ah, that was pretty good. He got it.
And then for the 2 p.m. international event on Saturday, we also have Isma Spike.
Yeah, no, see,
So
Spike, you're winning too many tournaments
you
now.
are. You've won too
you're
many
giving
tournaments.
him way too many practice.
We need somebody else, a new name to trip up John, because now he's just got it down.
Sorry, Spike's in the club now.
So that was Spike's third and fourth international victory. And this is the first time anyone has won both international events on the weekend.
Nice.
Yep. Another thing for me to remember now. Next time it happens, I'll have to say, "Oh man, it was Spike that did that the first time."
Yeah, because I probably won't by then. Now we have LPCP Sunday event, and once again, Gloves 1010.
What?
Colin Anderson.
He owns that event.
That was
owns
the third one this year that he has won.
Cow.
And we only have one of those each week, so that's a pretty difficult one to
Karma.
win. And of course, don't forget that September 18th will be the next Heads Up event for Rec Poker.
Nice. Yeah, that was super fun too. I'm looking forward to that.
So what is Colin doing, Jim, with all of these months he's getting?
Colin's told us to find a way. So this is the third time Colin's won this. After the first one, he said, "Guys, this was super fun. But I think someone else should benefit from this free month at LPP." And I said, "Colin, within 24 hours, I will figure out a way to give that prize away." So a week later, he hadn't heard from me, but he'd won another LPP tournament. And he said, "Jim, you got to find a way to give this tournament away to a lucky Rec Poker winner." And I said, "Tell you what, Colin, I'll start taking this seriously when you win a third LPP tournament." And I guess he, what can I say? He put me in my place. Now we've got 3 months at LPP, compliments of Ryan LaPlante, but by way of our good friend Colin Anderson. And I think we're going to have to do something pretty spectacular with it now. Because 3, that's okay. All right, Colin, there's gonna have to be some sort of like Colin competition or like some trophy that's not a memorial, I guess, but you know what I mean.
Nice.
And I want to make it clear that it's not that Colin doesn't want LPP,
right?
But he's already a member of LPP.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good
so
point.
He's going to give the free months away.
Yeah, but even more about how great Colin is, LPP would just credit him what he paid for each of those months, and he's choosing instead to donate that. So it's really hats off to you, Colin. That's fantastic.
All right, so we got to figure out a way to give those away, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. So Chris, anything else on the seminar? I know we kind of rushed you through your piece, but anything else on the seminar that you wanted to share?
The only other thing is the other thing that we do is this focus study group. So I think we've had some last month we had Keith Monkey System Brandt lead us through a hand played by Adrian Mateos. We're taking this inside the mind of the pro series where a pro talks about their key hands through major tournaments. It's all filmed. It's really professionally done. It's a really fantastic series. But we're taking that and breaking down specific hands from each episode, and we're asking our members to jump in so that they can learn and kind of get better, and we can talk through how to use tools like Flopzilla, like GTO Plus, like basically to sort of like be able to then apply it to their own game. Like how do I then analyze my own hands? And we're having a lot of fun. It's been really so. Keep joining us, and if you missed some, you can catch up on some past ones, but we'll be going through looking at another Adrian Mateos episode in the coming month.
So premium member says, all right, man, that sounds really good, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Like, where do I find that? Or
it's you just go to the website, you sign up for the group, the Focus. It's just one of the groups that's listed there, and once you sign up there, you'll see all the posts. You can catch up on all the videos, the conversations, and Jim runs a study group every Saturday, and one of those Saturdays they also talk about some of the content that came up during the focus session.
I love it. So get in there. If you're a premium member, get in there, sign up for the group, the Focus. Even if you're not going to plan on doing it right away, just get in there. Then you can get connected with it, see what all the stuff is, all the hubbub is about. But it's Jonesy combining all this world-class content with community, with discussion, with learning, all of that stuff, right? I mean, leveraging the stuff that's out there, which is a fantastic use of resources. So I love that stuff.
Well, I'm not going to get a better segue than that. You can go to rec.poker/resources and you can actually find some discount codes for a lot of that stuff that Carlos was talking about earlier. LPP, some of the programs he was talking about. If you go to rec.poker/resources, you can find some codes there. They'll give you a bit of a discount on some of those products as well. So, it's about using the tools that are right for you, using the tools that are right for the job you're trying to do. There's a lot of different tools out there. There's a lot of different ways to study poker. So find the one that's right for you.
All right. Well, I know we're a little bit over. Good stuff. Anything else for the good of the order, guys, or we'll wrap it up? I forgot. This is probably the night I'm supposed to end on time because of the seminar. I totally forgot that we have to end on time. But anything else, John, Chris, Jim? All right. Well, we can wrap up there. Make sure if you like what you're hearing about the whole Rec Poker premium membership thing, just go to rec.poker. You use the code RECPOKER, RECPOKER. You get $10 off your first payment. $15 is the first month's price. Use that code. You get it for $5. Check it out. You can also sign up for our newsletter to stay plugged in with everything else we have going on there. But thanks, Carlos Welch. Thanks to Chris and John and Jim and all you guys. Thanks to Running Aces Casino, Racetrack, and Hotel. Thanks to Website AMP. And we will catch you guys all next week. Have a great one, everybody.